Hi, second grade. Welcome back to another Eureka Math lesson with Mrs. Jones. Today we are going to go ahead and look at lesson 13 of module 6. Let's go ahead and read our I can statement. I can use square tiles to decompose a rectangle. Ooh, decompose is a big word, and if you remember all the way back from our foundations lesson, this was an example with that D prefix means to take apart. So I can use square tiles to decompose or take apart a rectangle. So I have an array here, and there are 4 rows of 5. There's 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows. Okay. So how many tiles are there altogether? I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to go ahead and think of either a repeated addition equation or to count the squares to match your thinking. Go ahead. How many squares are there altogether? So if you said there were 20 squares altogether, nice work. I'm going to challenge you to think about, how did you know there were 20? What strategy did you use? Did you use repeated addition or did you count each square? So if you use repeated addition, what equation would match this array? I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to think about that. What repeated addition equation would match this array? Let's check our work. So if you said 5 plus 5 plus 5 equals 20, you are correct. There's 1 row of 5 plus another row of 5 plus another row of 5 plus a last row of 5, and that equals 20. We can check our math by counting the squares. Okay, so if I know I have 4 rows of 5, how can we decompose or take apart this rectangle to have equal parts? So if I'm taking apart the rows, where would I have to split them? Think about that. So I would actually split them right down the middle because I do have an even amount. So I know I have 2 rows up here and 2 rows down here. So I've taken my 4 rows of 5, I've kept my 5, and I've just split the rows into 2 equal groups. How many rows do we have in each part? You said 2, nice job. We have 1 row up here, 1 row here, 2 rows. And then in our next part, we have 1 row, 2 rows. So how many tiles do we have in each part of the row? If you said we have 5 tiles in each row, meaning each part now has 10 tiles, you are correct. Nice work. We have 2 rows of 5 in each part. So what number sentence could we use to describe the way that we've split these into parts now? So our 2 rows of 5, what number sentence could we use? If you said 5 plus 5 equals 10, you were correct because I have 1 row of 5 here and another row of 5 here. That equals 10. 1 row of 5 here and another row of 5 here, and that equals 10. Nice work. Let's try another one. So this time I'm going to be asking you about columns. And remember, columns go this way, or if you really want to stretch, you can put both arms up and down like you're trying to touch the ceiling and trying to touch the floor. So I have 5 columns of 3. Don't get tricked. 1 column, 2 column, 3 columns, 4 columns, 5 columns. Each of them has 3 squares in each of them. How many squares do I have all together? Think about how you would know that and what strategy you're going to use to answer that question. How many tiles are there together? How are you going to find out? 10 seconds. If you said 15 tiles altogether, you are correct. In my head, I thought about using my repeated addition equation, so I added 3 5 times, and that got me 15. Give me a thumbs up if you match with that. So now that I have 5 columns of 3, how can we decompose or take apart this rectangle into 3 columns of 3? So because I have 5 up here, 5 columns up here, I'm not going to be able to make equal groups anymore. I'm looking into how can I separate this or decompose it into 3 columns of 3. Think about that and how you would answer that. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds. How can we separate this rectangle into 3 columns of 3? Let's see if your answer matches mine. I know I have to take 1, 2, 3 columns, and I have 3 in each here. So I still have my total of 5 columns. My array has not changed, but instead I have one group of 3 columns and another group of how many? Right, 2. So I've started telling you how we can describe this array. How would you describe each part of this array now? Take about 10 seconds and think about that. Let's see if your answer matches mine. So I said that there were, I'm pointing like you can see, so silly. I said there were 3 columns of 3 and 2 columns of 3. How many tiles do we have in each part of the row? Right, 3. So it might look something like this if we use a number bond. We started out with 5 columns of 3. We've separated one with 3 columns of 3, and we're left over with 2 columns of 3. What number sentence could we use to describe each part? How could we use a repeated addition sentence to describe our 3 columns of 3 and our 2 columns of 3? Let's see if your answer matches mine. So for our 3 columns of 3, we're going to add 3 times. 3 plus 3 plus 3 equals 9. And for our 2 columns of 3, 3 plus 3 equals 6. Our total amount of tiles has not changed, and our total amount of columns has not changed. We're just looking at this array a different way. So you've done an amazing job today, second grade. I'm so proud of you. Your next step is to go to your Google Forms and finish the problem set. If you have any questions, make sure you reach out to your teacher. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.